you're looking at the club's two motivations going into it. I mean, it couldn't be far apart for this 90 minutes of football. Villa, such a massive game for them. You know, the stadium's going to be up for it, the fans are going to be up for it, the players are going to be bang up for it as well. And you're looking at Spurs, the way they've managed a Premier League game so far, particularly in the last couple of weeks. There's going to be hardly any motivation there to go and, you know, put yourself about, not pull out those 50-50s, you know, and Villa are going to be full-blooded in those 50-50s.
And not only that, how many times have we gone to Villa Park and got an injury? Like recently, it happens every time we play them. We get an injury.
Yeah,
I am worried about McGinn and Cash and all these people just put in hard challenges and try and hurt our players all the time. So that's something that I think we might probably be wary of going into this game.
Yeah, I do feel like it'll be smart not to play Sonny at left wing because you don't want him coming up against Matty Cash.
Yeah, honestly,
you know what I mean?
These two-footed lunges. So it's look. I completely agree. I can't. It's hard to envisage a Tottenham side being really well up for it. Even if even if we were, Emery's a very good, clever, tactical, smart coach. Like I think at our best, if we were playing a 4-11 against their 4-11, we've had good games against Villa and against Unai Emery, and I think we can handle them. But in this kind of scenario, I can see them overwhelming us. I can see them just being more physical and just winning those battles, those duels, those 50-50s, second balls, set pieces, all these different things. And I think Tottenham will probably just crumble. I really don't see Tottenham putting up much of a fight in this game, to be honest, like we have done for most of the other Premier League games. Like how we performed against Palace, we just rolled over. It was so easy for Palace in that game, and they didn't even have much to play for. Villa are going to be super motivated. Also, their last home game of the season. If they win, they put themselves in a great position to get Champions League football. There's so much going in their favour. It would be a real turn up from the form books or any sort of form for Tottenham to get any sort of result in this game.
Yeah, you're looking at the league table. They're currently 6th. They're 3 points behind Newcastle in 3rd. So I mean that just shows you the magnitude of the game for them going into it. Chelsea play Manchester United as well, who are currently on the same points as Aston Villa, both on the Friday night. So a bit of an interesting one there. But you're looking at Villa's form going into it. They had a shocker in the FA Cup, didn't they? An absolute shocker, getting battered by Crystal Palace. But I think since then, they've had 2 1-0 wins. But I think, convincing victories, and Unai Emery knows the job he needs to do right now.
Yeah, and it's interesting, usually at this point of the season, this is the point where Unai Emery has history of really suffering and really not doing well, and bottling the league. And this season seems to be they seem to be doing all right. I guess you can say against Villa in the cup, they did completely shit the bed on that occasion, and they got battered 3-0, and it was deservedly so. But in the Premier League, it seems as though obviously in the Champions League as well they did really well, and they were so unlucky against PSG not to go through, and they haven't let it affect them. They've really kicked on in the Premier League, just getting the job done, being professional, getting the results they need to, and they've given themselves a real fighting chance now of getting into that Champions League, which to be honest they absolutely are desperate for given their kind of financial situation. So they need that Champions League. It's an absolute necessity, but they've given themselves a brilliant opportunity to do it.
Yeah, but regardless of what you were saying before, regardless of the team that Spurs are going to put out here, going to Villa Park has been a daunting task for anyone this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think they've lost 1 game at Villa Park all season, and that was in the first month of the season, or the first week of the season, I think it was.
And even that game was against Arsenal, and they should have taken something from that game.
Yeah, they've been incredible at Villa Park this season. It's where their away form has probably let them down a little bit.
Although it says they're 5th in the home table.
So
which is good.
Had a few draws there, but still, to be where they are has been brilliant. I'm looking at the last time they didn't win a game at home, and you have to go way back. You got to go to the Liverpool game in February, you know. So they have had a few they drew with that Ipswich at Villa Park, didn't they, this season? But more times than not, they've been absolutely brilliant at Villa Park. And the way they've managed the season, because first half of the season it wasn't certain that they were going to be in the Champions League fight or anything like that, and they went out, they got Rashford, they got Asensio, they've got Daniel Marlin, and these guys have really kicked them on in this second half of the season. Really have.
Yeah, giving them a second win because they were so heavily reliant on kind of Watkins. I know Rodgers had a great season as well, and he's really kind of upped his output as well second half of the season. Whereas first half he was playing great, maybe with kind of being a bit frustrating in front of goal. But second half of the season he's really starting to be a bit more clinical and ruthless, and he's got the makings of being an absolute star. I think he might already be there. He's so good, Morgan. But in terms of goals, first half they were very much relying on Watkins a lot of the time, and if he wasn't scoring, it was hard to see where the goals were coming. And I think Rashford, Asensio, and Marlon have really helped that. Just the quality and creating chances and just adding a lot more quality into that front line, which they didn't have. And it was a phenomenal January, and it's really given them the platform to kick on and not let the season slip away from them. And I think that if they get back in the Champions League, considering how they performed against PSG over 2 legs, and they were so unlucky maybe not to go through, albeit they were 4 goals down at one point, but they did make kind of a really good comeback and were so close to doing something miraculous. And they'll probably look at that and have the confidence if we can just get back in the Champions League, have a really good summer, with Unai there, they can take on anyone. But the problem for them is, what the future for Watkins is, what the future for what their future financial situation is. Can they afford to bring Rashford in the summer with his wages and things like that? What do they do with Asensio? Do they make that permanent? They got a lot of tough decisions to make, Aston Villa, especially when they're trying to be in accordance with their FFP. There's a lot of rumours that they're going to have to make a big sale. So how that affects them, we'll have to wait and see. But what they do know is they have to be in that Champions League. They have to.
Do you think that big sale will come in the shape of an Ollie Watkins? Because, he's not getting any younger now. What is he, 29, 30? Around that ballpark figure. So I feel like there was rumours that they offered him to Arsenal in the January transfer window. They said no. And then they went and sold Duran for best part of 80 million or whatever it was. And then Arsenal came in with the bid, and obviously they were never going to let him go. But is that money that they got for John Duran not going to, massively help them with the FFP situation?
I think they had to do it, but apparently it's not enough.
Not enough?
Yes, I'm saying they need to sell another one, potentially, because they put a lot of that money. I know it's not necessarily transfer fees, but, Rashford's, they're paying a portion of his wage. I don't know how much Asensio is. Marlon, they signed for, I think, 20 million, which is not a big fee, but obviously it's still an outlay. And they're paying 97% of their wages, of their income on wages, 97%. So when it comes to being sustainable for FFP, apparently they do need to make another big sale on top of that Duran one. But Duran definitely helped, but they had to do it.
And as someone says in the comments, they do have a few injuries. Rashford, Tielemans, Ramsey out for the game. I think Ramsey actually had a really good season this year.
We were heavily linked with him, weren't we?
And a lot of people not convinced whether to bring him in or not. But I think on the back of the season that he's had, you would probably say it's a bit of an easier decision now.
Yeah, and he's very kind of versatile. He's really kicked on. I think he's had a really good year, and I think he's a player that's kind of developing, improving. And I think these kind of players who can play in multiple different positions to a good level, they're very valuable, and that's what kind of he just fits in wherever they need him. Villa.
It's interesting with some of the signings that Villa make, Ramsey, one of them, Tielemans, one of them, Rashford, one of them, even Marlon to a certain extent, Asensio. The majority of those players Spurs were linked with, and a lot of our fans probably scoffed at them, being these guys are not good enough. Tielemans was obviously going a bit off the boil at Leicester, and everyone's like, it's a massive risk to sign Tielemans. He's been one of the best midfielders in the Premier League this season. I enjoy watching him play so much. I think he's been absolutely brilliant. Asensio as well. He's come in and out of the team at PSG, and he's come in and done a brilliant job. I think he's maybe dried up a little bit over the previous weeks, but still the impact that he's had has been phenomenal. Rashford maybe didn't get the goals that maybe you were expecting him to get, and also a lot of people, Spurs fans, were saying, I don't want to see Rashford at Spurs. But, on the back of the performances that we've seen from, particularly in the Champions League, you'd probably say, a 6-month loan deal would have been a smart move to do. So there's been a lot of players at Villa this season that Spurs fans were just like, I don't really want them. But now, if you ask them again, they'll probably all say, yeah, I'd have him.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But I think that's the difference between us and Villa, is that we've, in terms of the last 2 years, we've clearly been making signings at a very much younger age, looking to like build a younger team to kind of hopefully create superstars and build the team that's going to be together for a long time, that kind of thing, and massively lowering the average age. Whereas Unai and Villa have been much more willing to compromise on kind of younger players and just go for players that are kind of ready for the short term, ready to immediately impact the team, ready to immediately contribute for them. And that's obviously been a criticism of us in terms of we haven't done anywhere near enough of doing that kind of thing.
Another example of that, by the way, is Amadou Onana, because we were heavily linked in the last summer as well.
Yeah, and he's been brilliant for them as well. Another really good signing. So these are players for sure that I think a lot of Tottenham fans look at that and they think we haven't kind of made those investments in players who can immediately kind of make an impact. We're always signing players that we're hoping can kind of grow into the role and we're hoping can kind of in the future become the player that we need. But right now we need to give them time, and we're in that process of giving all these players time, and obviously the results are suffering for it a lot of the time because these players just aren't kind of ready immediately to be at the level where we want them to be, which is challenging for top 5, 6 in the league and be at that kind of level. Whereas they're more willing to, let's pay big wages, get Rashford on loan, let's spend 20 million on Marlon, even though maybe he's going to be out of the door in a year. Let's.
Did they sign him? Was he not alone?
He's like 20 million. They signed him permanently.
They signed him permanently.
Yeah, they're more willing to do that, and I think maybe we used to do that potentially. And maybe short term it worked, and then under Conte maybe when we did it and it worked for 6 months, then the next season maybe you could argue maybe we suffered for it, or maybe something else happened. But
I don't really think we brought in the required quality though, did we?
Well, we spent a lot for short term. That's my point. Like for short term, we weren't really signing a lot for the future.
We bought like Kulusevski and Bentancur, but apart from that, like who did we sign really?
Well, that was in January.
Yeah.
And then we signed Basuma, we signed Richarlison, we signed Perisic. We were looking for a lot of players, Longley on loan, looking for a lot of players in the short term. Yeah. And I'm not saying maybe it's the players we signed rather than the strategy that was the problem, but obviously it didn't turn out look great long term. But right now for Villa, they've obviously had a great 2 years and they're doing very, very well. But is it a case of will it in the long term, in a year's time, are they going to be suffering for that strategy, or is it going to pay dividends? I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we will have to wait and see. Morgan Rogers as well, he's been a sensational signing for Aston Villa. I'm not sure how much they spent on him, but
I think 15 million.
What a signing that has
brilliant.
Been. What
signing from the Championship.
22 years of age, signed from Middlesbrough, was on the ranks at Manchester City, wasn't he? Not long ago, Middlesbrough signed him off Man City. I mean, he's been a revelation. He really has. And, he likes to get under your skin, Morgan Rogers. He's got such skill about him. He's always buying fouls, making fouls, but he's got quality, doesn't he? Such quality.
Yeah, he's so difficult to deal with. It's like if you get too close to him, he just spins in behind you. If you step off him, he's got the quality he's been improving that quality to get shots off and make killer passes. You just can't give him time on the ball. He's really becoming a superstar for Aston Villa. He can play off the wing, can play in the 10, can do any sort of role. He's got unbelievable physicality. He's so strong. I think the first time I really stood up and took notice of him in terms of like, wow, this actually is a serious talent, was they played Arsenal earlier in the season. And he was just running the show like they couldn't get near him. I know they ended up losing 2-0, but like every time they gave the ball to Rodgers, he was like spinning Declan Rice like he wasn't there. Thomas Partey creating opportunities, getting shots on goal, playing through balls, creating chances. And I was like watching him play. I was like, these Arsenal players can't get near him. It's absolutely incredible to see. And he's just kicked on and just been doing that all season. I think for the first 6 months last season, not saying he was bad or anything, but he didn't hit the ground running, let's say, last season for the first 6 months, and it took him a bit of time to bed in. But as soon as he's like come back from pre-season this season, he's like taken the Premier League by storm, and he's been one of the shining lights of the season, not just for Villa but in the Premier League. And this guy is going to be a star in the future, and I don't know if he's been capped by England yet, but it's only a matter of time. And he's just a phenomenal talent, and just goes to show the talent that there is in the Championship if you're smart about it.
Yeah, absolutely, completely spot So look, it's fair to say they're building a really nice squad there. Another player that we were linked with in Pau Torres, I think like he's had a really good season as well for Villa this year. Maatsen, I think, has been a decent signing for them off the bench, making an impact. And I guess the one player that we were linked with that hasn't really gone well for them or hasn't really blown me away or made me any bit jealous is Axel Disasi. He's probably the only one that was linked with us, and I'm saying I wish we would have signed him.
Yeah, pretty happy we probably didn't get that, to be honest, because he's not been great for them. But they've built a very good team and quite a deep squad as well. I think Unai Emery has imprinted his style in there, and also Unai is a manager a lot of the time who, for the last couple jobs, hasn't really made a home there, and he's kind of struggled to find longevity, and he was seeming to be like only there for a couple years, and he was, his stock was declining at the time, and this Villa job has really come at an unbelievable time for him, and looks like he's found a home here. And this is people have always said about Unai, is he the kind of manager who needs to be managing at this kind of level, like a team who's not quite at the top, but still good enough that he can have resources to work with. And he's been at PSG and Arsenal, it hasn't quite worked out, but Sevilla, Villarreal, and now and Valencia, I think he did a good job, and now Villa. There seems to be this is where he feels at home at this kind of level.
What blew me away about this Villa side was that second half that they played against PSG. Because they were 2-0 down at half time. The tie is all but done, pretty much. Everyone's just saying how many
4 goals tie. Yeah.
How many is it going to be to PSG in the second half? They are absolutely blowing them away. Unai makes a couple of tweaks at half time, and suddenly Villa are blowing this PSG team away. This PSG side who bloody blew Liverpool away, beat Arsenal in the semi-final quite convincingly in the end. And I think Villa probably given them the hardest time out of anyone in this Champions League, particularly in the knockout stages anyway.
He's brilliant in these European competitions. He just has some sort of magic he has.
The reality is, right, on the balance of playing that second half, they did more than enough to go through. That is the reality.
They were 3-2 up, and they were, the chances they had at 3-2 to make it 4-2. And
Maatsen shot at the end, I thought that was in.
It was incredible. And he just seems to have this kind of magic in these European Cup competitions. Obviously, he's won the Europa League, 3 times? He got to the semi-finals of Villarreal. With PSG, it didn't quite go to plan, but even in one of the games, I know they ended up losing, and it's the famous game where they lost 6-1, but they did beat Barca in the first leg 4-0, and which was an incredible performance. And for Villa, I know Conference League they should have really won it, but he got to the semi-finals, but they didn't quite go all the way. But in the Champions League, they were brilliant in the group stages, by and large. They got the top 8, and they brushed aside Club Brugge, and then PSG gave them a real run for their money in that tie. So, he's just got a way about him, and if they do invest correctly, there's no reason why Villa couldn't be a surprise package one year in the Champions League if they get there again. Yeah. I reckon if they do drop into Europa League next season, put your money on him winning that.
Yeah, well, definitely, yeah. Very, very. Well, we said that about the Conference League, though.
True.
We did say that about the Conference League. So Villa have Spurs and Manchester United last 2 games of the season. I mean, if this is probably the 2 games that they want, right? They have one team before the final and one team after the final.
Probably handpick games. This wouldn't be far off it, I would say.
Yeah. So you would assume that they get 6 points. That makes it, doesn't it?
Considering that Forest play Chelsea, unless Chelsea also win both games, then yeah. Chelsea obviously play Man United and Forest. If Chelsea win both those games, then obviously goes down to goal difference. And depending on who wins by bigger margin, I think Chelsea are winning quite significantly, +7. So unless Chelsea win both, then they will be in that top 5. And you probably back Chelsea to drop points in one of those games, probably the Forest game. It will be difficult for them.
Yeah, I think without Jackson, it does take away a bit from their game. So I'm more confident Villa make it than Chelsea make it, put it that way.
Yeah, so I think they'll probably say to themselves, you get 2 wins and you're probably there. And I think there's a good chance they will be there.
I do think both Villa and Chelsea both win this weekend. It's all about what happens on the last day.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, look, Villa against Spurs tomorrow night, 7:30 under the lights at Villa Park. I don't hold much hope for Tottenham. Do you?
No. we're going to be on the beach. Well, not quite on the beach. I think that's the wrong
Definitely
term.
not on the beach.
Yeah, I think this is the wrong term for it. But it's, let's say our eye's going to be off the ball.
We're going to be in Bilbao. That's where we're going to be.
Yeah, we're going to be in Bilbao. Any beaches in Bilbao?
Let's hope not.
So, yeah, I don't see anything but a Villa win, a convincing win. The only hope that I have, in a weird way, is that they go like 2-0 up really early and just like play it around the back, and they don't want any injuries going to the last day. So I don't want it hanging in the balance and them going like hell for leather for like 90 minutes, because that could spell trouble for us. So I think we should just shake hands now, give them a 3-0 win and move on, but we're not going to do that. So yeah, but I'm going to go. I think it's going to be 3-0.
3-0. Yeah.
3-0 Villa.
I'm going to go for 2-0, so just one goal less than you. But look, the reality is, as much as I want to sit here and see Spurs win and always want to see us do our best, it is got to be like just a preparation game for the game on Wednesday. That's what it is. That's all that matters right now, is that game on Wednesday. And
I'm sure, just like after the Palace game and after this game, you're going to get a whole
21 defeats.
Yeah, you're going to get all this, that, the other. Look at the record, look at the blah 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 blah. Yeah, I expect it. It's going to happen. They're going to have to just put up with it, because at the end of the day, Wednesday is all that matters.
But if we do lose this and then they lose on Wednesday,
then it's burn it all down. Yeah, burn down the club, cancel it. Get Andrew's head on a spike.
And it's actually like warranted as well. It's not even
if we lose on Wednesday,
it's not even like people going over the top.
No, it would be the worst season in our lifetime.
God, let's just bloody pray that we do the business on Wednesday night. That's all that matters right now. And if we don't, then we can look back at all these games and use it as a stick to beat him with. But just win on Wednesday, please. I beg you. Just can the football gods just please look down on us once? Just once.
One time.
Just once.
Yeah, don't expect anything from this game, people. Really, just. I think we're all going to be watching this game probably just like that, just with our hands for our fingers, just hoping there are no injuries, hiding behind a couch, because that's all we just got to hope that doesn't happen in this game as we get more players injured.
Yeah, look, I would love to sit here and fill you guys with confidence for the game tomorrow night, but it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a difficult watch, as the last couple of Premier League games have been, and this one's going to be no different. So, and we're coming up against a team with, something to actually play for in the Premier League. So that's our predictions. We'll be here on the watch long tomorrow night. So come and join us. We can all suffer together, as it's the last game before we make the trip out to Bilbao, which we're very much looking forward to. I cannot wait till next week. I can't wait just to get this game over and done with. And then just to get out to Bilbao, enjoy the festivities, and see Spurs in the European final.
All these Premier League games, I'm just sitting here saying, it's just another game I've got to get through. Yeah. Just another game I've got to get through. Just get through it. I know it's going to happen. We can't jump over it. I can't just click my fingers and I'm in Bilbao.
I wish I could.
We're going to have to watch this game and just sit through it. One more painful game before the final, people. So just one more time. We have to do it one more time until after Bilbao, then we have to do another time. But just one more time before Bilbao, and then we're there in the final. So just get through it. Do what you need to do to ride through it. If you have to skip the game and not want to do that, do what you need to do. And then we're in Bilbao, people.
Yeah. But look, like I said, come and join us tomorrow night on the watch long. And that will be that. That is our Villa Tottenham preview going into the game. 7:30 kickoff tomorrow night.